Well, your timing was impeccable. We sailed past the 10,000 subscriber mark on the Saturday afternoon, which meant I could do a nice clean cut and swap over to the Takeover on the Monday. So thank you very much for that. We carried on going. We've sailed right past it. And as I record this is Wednesday lunchtime. We're nearly at 10,100 subscribers. So a big thank you to everyone. Let's do table talk. So hello, welcome to Model Kit Stuff. My name is Jason. This is Table Talk. It's our little video where we catch up with each other during the course of the week, talk about what's been going on, talk about what's coming up, and one or two other things. You'll work it out during the course of the video. But if you want to know what's going on behind the scenes, and more importantly, you want to get involved in the channel, the direction of the channel, then this is the spot each week to do it. And to those of you who are new subscribers, I've had many of you this month, 260 something so far, and especially to those of you that have joined since Monday and our Absolute Beginners build kickoff, a massive welcome to you all. Collectively, we're all part of the Model Kit Stuff family, and this is very much a community now. I mean, it started off as me putting out videos, but we are very much more community focused, and it has that vibe. We know each other, we talk to each other, we joke with each other. It feels very different than it did 4 years ago. So it's been a really nice journey, and of course that journey is because of you guys. You know, sitting here on my own talking to a camera, that's one thing, but interacting with you, I get emails, I get the comments. Then of course on a Friday, when we have a premiere running, you get to talk to channel subscribers and myself, and of course you're advert free as well when you're watching that build. So yeah, lots going on. We'll talk all about this as we go through. But how is the 10,000 takeover shaping up for you? So far, all the videos that you've seen were chosen by you. So if you're a new subscriber, what's going on is we ran some polls to see what people wanted to watch, and whatever got the most votes one way or another, first past the post system of course, is what we've ended up watching, and you've turned it into a very ship focused channel for the next 2 weeks. Not exclusively, and we will never be exclusively a ship channel. But it has got me thinking about what the future shape of the channel should look like based on what people are looking for. And I have to be a little bit careful because if we end up just focusing too much on ships, then other people that are who aren't interested in ships are gonna dwindle off and not pay any interest, and it'll limit the number of subscribers. Not that subscribers is that important, actually, despite all this hoo-ha that I'm making about 10,000 subscribers. You know, it's not. At the moment, the channel is doing really well when it comes to subscribers. So for the last 3 months consecutively, I've had more subscribers than the previous month, and all 3 of those months were beyond my last 12 months average. So my channel isn't just growing steadily, it's growing at an increased rate, certainly over the last quarter, which is interesting because I'm hearing other channels saying, oh yeah, there's something wrong with YouTube, people aren't coming to YouTube, I'm not getting as many subscribers as I used to get. That's absolutely not the case for me. I'm growing at a faster rate than I have ever done. I mean, we're not talking massive amounts, but the margin is increasing. And it was interesting, I mean, usually a video will pull, a single video when I release it, in the first week might pull in somewhere between 1 and 3 new subscribers. And the video we put out on Monday I had 25 new subscribers from that. And that could have been because of where it's been shared. Which I think leads me nicely into what happened last week. So last week we started off the 10k takeover on Monday. Well, actually, officially it started Saturday afternoon when I put the little video up to say, thank you very much, we're at 10k. And I shared my first build on the channel, which, you know, someone actually left a comment and said, I remember you building it and that's why I subscribed. So, you know, I've had some subscribers that have been here for the whole journey and I never forget that. One of my first major subscribers was a guy who was into cars, and I wasn't doing anything with cars, but he had a channel very car focused, and he gave me a shout out, and then I got sort of like 13 subscribers from that, and so it snowballed, and that's how it's continued. I mean, I've had people mention my channel, which brings subscribers in. Nigel from Nigel's Modelling Bench a couple of times has brought subscribers in for me. But then I've gone and done the same, and we did for a little while Meet the Creator, and we focused on little channels that were just starting up, as well as bigger channels that you might not have come across, and we sort of did a lot of swapping and sharing. I haven't done so much of that recently, which is why I put the shout out bit back into Table Talk to sort of keep that going, because at the end of the day, we're all modelers. We've all got different styles, and some of us take it a lot more seriously than others do. And you know, we're all different, and we're all just doing our little bit, and we're all fundamentally creative people. But to be in this hobby, you've got to be creative, haven't you? So, you know, we've all got a common thing, and you know, it's nice to share and let other people be aware. And you know, I've always encouraged the smaller channels to get more people and do their stuff, because you know, once upon a time I had no subscribers. So it's just the way it runs. And if you stick with it and you be yourself and you get yourself a little way of working, you can do something with it. You really can. And as you know, and I've said it many times, I really enjoy doing this. But I'm digressing again. I do that a little bit for those of you that have not seen this before. Monday, we put out the video, wooden ship modelling for absolute beginners. I think that's what I called it. It's a very convoluted title. I don't know who came up with that. But that was what you guys voted for, which put my order a little wrong, but we'll talk about that on the next one. So yeah, so we kicked that off, focused on this, the Vanguard Models Sherbourn, which you can see first planking. We're about 3 planks away, plus maybe a steeler, maybe a dropper, though I think we'll get away without a dropper. So that's what you wanted to see, and it was certainly a good choice because I got 25 new subscribers, and it did so far it's done more than 1,000 views, so it's been more popular than my average video in the first 3 days of being out. So that's gone really well. Chris at Vanguard Models, he has a Facebook page, and he shared it on his Facebook page, and so some people that perhaps weren't aware of my channel saw it through that link, and then that led to another subscription. So all in all, a good week on the subscriber front. So yeah, really happy with how it's going. But like I say, subscribers isn't the be all and end all, because on average my videos only get watched by 20% of all the views of my videos are subscribers. So 80% of video views are not from subscribers, and from people who then don't hit the subscribe button. So and I'm sure it's a sort of a similar amount for everybody else. So the point of subscribing is so you don't miss future content. But if you are just building a particular model and you've come across my review of the kit, or I built it or something, I get you just following that and then moving on. I've done that myself and don't necessarily always subscribe. But if you subscribe and hit the bell, you don't miss anything, and you can pick and choose what you watch. And I get it that, you know, not everything I do is for everybody, but there are people out there who watch everything, you know, so that's great. I try and cover lots of different things, so there's always something of interest at some point and different things pop up. It's a bit difficult when you're doing a big build like the Sharnhorst to put lots of variety in, because I've only got a couple of other builds on the go, or 3 builds on the go, so it's a bit of a juggle. Anyway, it's all working out at the minute. So Monday, great success. Then Wednesday, we did the first impressions of the Sherbourn from Vanguard Models. I'd like to have done the first impressions first. In the normal way of running, we'd do the first impressions, then we'd start off the build. But that's not how you decided we were going to do it. So you chose to see the first impressions on that first Wednesday. So yeah. There we go. So far, I've found this a really enjoyable build. And what I'm trying to do with this is build it with a focus on beginners. And you'd be surprised how extremely difficult it is to do that. Because what you've got to do is try and think like someone who's never done it before and ignore your experience and knowledge that says, oh yeah, you should do this, or, you know, so it's very difficult to think like a complete novice when you're not a complete novice. So I will explain when we come to do the planking. I'll tell you guys here now that what I've done is I've tried to do it the way I would have done it as a beginner, and then when we finish the first planking, I'm going to go through the things that are wrong. So there's things that I have done which I know are common issues that beginners get. So plank that's not quite kept to the curve, and at the transom there that haven't quite hugged it into the bulkhead. So, you know, we've got planks that are, it's a bit clinker. Why is that? And then we can talk about all of that. And then on the second planking, we're going to do it much more scientific. So this is like the instructions: get your plank, slap it in, and taper, and each one needs a taper. And, you know, whilst there's an explanation on how to do it, it's very difficult without writing an actual book to explain how to do planking. And it's the bit that catches most people out. And if you can master planking the hull, there is nothing else that's ever going to prevent you from building a wooden model ship of any size. Different brands come with different problems, but if you can understand the principle and get your head around it and do it a couple of times for yourself, then you can tackle absolutely everything. So on this first level, I'm doing it and deliberately allowing some things to happen that ordinarily I'd correct. And then when we do the second planking, we're going to do a much more scientific approach where we'll be doing measuring, a planking fan, and so on. And then you can see the difference. Second planking is easier anyway, because as a general rule, it's thinner because it's more it's a decorative cover, really, effectively. So that then gets us to Friday night. So for those of you that don't know, Friday night, it's always a build video. It goes out at 9 PM UK time, and that features live chat because it's a premiere. So you get 2 things. You get an opportunity to chat to me and anybody else that's in on there, and we have a number of regulars and other people that pop in and out depending on what the subject matter is. And you also get to watch it without adverts, which is great. So it's a bit of a double-edged sword because there's so many people watch it when it first goes out and they're in the live chat. You don't tend to get as many comments, but it's a small trade-off. I really enjoy the live chat on a Friday. It's nice talking to people. It's like nice to catch up with people from all over the world and see what's going on. And yeah, I enjoy it. And there's some fellow creators in there as well. So all good. And all being well, obviously, I'm recording this before Friday. That should have been Sharnhorst. I say should have been. I've not finished editing the video at this point, but I've got enough material, so there's no reason why it wouldn't be. And again, that's what you asked to see. I know lots of people are enjoying the Sharnhorst videos, and we're sort of in a more interesting bit, but we talked a bit about that last week, about the pros and cons of that. So that takes us to now, and we'll talk about what's coming up later on. Right now, let's focus on what happened on the bench. So what was going down on the bench? Well, for those of you who are new to the channel, how it works is get a few hours on a Saturday morning, and that these days gets spent on wood modelling, and then Sunday is my main modelling morning, and then I sort of get a little bit of time here and there in the week. Although I haven't been able to do that for a little while because I'm uptight on my schedule for editing videos in the first place. So editing time is eating into modelling time, and I've just been so busy. So it's like this is Wednesday, I'm recording this lunchtime. I will edit this either Thursday morning before I start work, or I'll edit it in my lunchtime tomorrow. And so that means that I don't have modelling time in my lunchtime tomorrow because I'm editing the video together. I'll have some modelling time tonight. I have give myself one night in the week where I go, right, I'm going to do some modelling. But it still doesn't feel like anywhere near enough. So Saturday, it was the week to work on the Sherbourn. That's the third time I've picked this up, isn't it? So that's what we were doing this week. And the second planking has basically taken me 2 Saturday mornings. I couldn't tell you how many hours. But what I'm doing is I'm doing one side on camera and then the other side off camera, just to speed it up. And then so that was Saturday, and then Sunday you guys had said I should carry on working on Sharnhorst. So the very first survey I put out was, what should I work on for the next couple of weeks? And everyone said Sharnhorst. So for the next 2 weeks I'm working on Sharnhorst, which suits me. This is where we've got to with her. So we've completed the corrections on the decks. So you can see the 2 bits of brass deck. They weren't supplied, they were incorrect. Both MK1 and Trumpeter completely messing that up. And then as you can see on the side, the filler, we've had to raise the height of the splinter shield because it had been lowered with the lower deck, so that was incorrect. So it needed raising by 1 millimeter. So we had to cut the lip off, extend it by 1 millimeter, put the lip back on, and then we've got filler on there to sort it out. And then the bulkheads in here needed correcting, which we've done. So all we've got to do there now is sand these flush. There's a couple of little boxes to glue in that aren't included in the kit. And then finish putting on the portholes and stuff, and then that bit's ready for painting. I did start working on this. I needed to get that to fit in for some of the bulkheads, and we had a look at the arrangement of this, and sure enough there were some things that were slightly wrong. I'll talk about it in the video, but I've had to relocate a couple of things. But generally not too bad, although these angles are slightly off. They're too short by 1 millimeter, but no one's going to notice. It's not worth correcting. I did at first think, well, I'll correct that, but it was such a difficult task that it wasn't worth the effort, to be honest. So I'm happy that it's going along nicely, but as I say, it's a bit limiting on the amount of video I'm getting out of that. So I'll be glad when we move on a little bit from that section. The next bit will be the remaining lower superstructure, but I've still got things to do on the hull. But when I've done the lower superstructure, we'll have all these windows to glaze, and that's when we'll glaze all the scuttles on the hull, and we can seal it, and we can put the depth markers on, and then we can do the last touches of painting. Then I think we're going to put the railings on at that point before we start going any higher, which will allow me to do some more weathering. So this paint scheme that I'm doing, there's two things regarding the weathering. First, it was fairly fresh when she was running the operation, so it doesn't need to be heavily weathered. There's not going to be lots of rust on it. It's going to be more muck staining than rust, at least above the boot line. And then it's dark, and that hides all sorts of stuff. So our weathering is going to have to be lighter. So if it was the standard German grey hull for that period, you'd go with darker weathering for the water runoff staining that you get down the side of the hull at all the stanchion points. We're going to have to go with a light grey so that it shows up against the hull. What I might do is do a little test piece and use my dark grey and see if how that looks. Is it completely not visible, or can you see it in the light, or what? So yeah, some things to think about. So we are not finished with the hull yet, but it'll all get there eventually. It has to, doesn't it? You know, you can't finish it without doing all those bits at some point. So yeah, I think that is it for what happened on the desk. Right then, stash ads, and well, this is one of two. The other one's not been delivered yet, and I was a bit naughty and ordered some pre-orders, but I maintain pre-orders isn't the same thing as buying a kit, is it? So when I say I'm not buying any more kits until Telford, what I mean is I'm not buying a lot of kits before Telford, which again, slightly different thing, isn't it? But this is this week's. So right, okay. This I don't know how you pronounce this. I think it's MHAR. Don't know. Made in China. Never had one of their kits before. I've only really seen the brand associated with World War One tank and maybe some figures before. I have been looking at these vehicles, commercial vehicles that they do, for quite some time, and I have to be honest, the reason that I was put off was by the box art. So the box art is a model kit. Now it's an interesting little conversation there, because I know people who say it's deceiving that your box art doesn't show you a picture of the model because you don't know what you're getting. And I understand that conversation, because you can have amazing box art and then you look inside and the kit is absolutely dross and you wouldn't touch it with a, you know, and you just go, why? Why have I bought this? So I get that argument, but here's a really nice picture of the completed model, and that puts me off, and I couldn't really tell you why. It's not like it's been poorly completed, although there is a gap in the windscreen there that you can see. You know, it's got a nice finish. It's not weathered or anything particular. It's just a straight build, but there's nothing wrong with it, and it shows the vehicle off lovely. So there's four ones, and I was between the tanker and there's like a pickup truck with a crane on the back, like tow truck type thing. And I was between the two, and I nearly went for the tow truck because it's got the nice framework on the back of the crane and what have you. And I went, you know what? I have never built a tanker. So let's get the tanker version. So anyway, it's 1/24 scale. I have had a quick look inside. I was a bit, I've just had a feeling it was going to be a bit like buying a Rodin kit and you'd sort of regret it, and there's more work in there than you need and all that sort of stuff. Not at all. Not at all. I was pleasantly surprised. Now, I've not gone through it in detail. I've not opened the bags. You know, I've not filmed the first impressions or anything. But I have had a quick leaf through and it's all right. So, yeah. I'm actually looking forward to having a good thumb through this. So yeah, imported by Backerman Europe, but you can get it all over the place. But yeah, so I'm not quite sure if they're a Chinese company or they're just making the kit in China, but it's all very nice. So it's a Bedford truck. There was loads of these milling around during the 40s and 50s. It was probably the mainstay truck in the UK during that time. So it's in many formats, and you've got the option to put it in military livery if you like. And it comes with, what does it say, 3 liveries plus assorted fleet numbers and registration plates. So, you know, you could sort of personalise it any way you want, I would imagine. You don't have to do it blue. The thing about commercial trucks is you can scrap all this, put what you want on. So, you know, I might do green with red mudguards and grill and stuff. And if you want some inspiration for commercial vehicles, come visit the Leyland Commercial Vehicle Museum. They've got some cracking examples in perfect. In fact, all of them are in running order with the exception of one vehicle from the First World War. Everything else works, but yeah, really nice. And, you know, when I'm ready to do something as a way of a change, that will come into its own because it's very different, not just in subject matter, but in scale. You know, I only do 1/24 when we're doing vehicles. It's not a sort of a mainstay scale for me. But yeah, it has an engine and everything, so you know it's fully detailed. So yeah, looking forward to having a little play with that at some point. So that was my stash ad. I've also ordered some new side cutters. These are starting to get worn. And I wasn't as happy with them. These I can never know how you're supposed to pronounce it. Display? Don't know. And these were the first ones I bought, which I now use as my secondary cutters. And they were really, really nice. Single blade cutters, worked really well. Dead happy with them. And then I managed to damage them on a bit of hard sprue and put a dent in them. So I bought another pair and they were different. And although they don't look different, the tip isn't as narrow, if you can see that. The tip isn't as narrow, and there were other differences, and they've certainly changed who's manufacturing it, and it just wasn't quite as nice, and I think it was a cheaper tool, even though the price had gone up. So I decided I wasn't going to buy it second time. So I sort of said, right, okay, let's do some research. And there's a lot of people swear by God hands. But at the price, that's the bit I'd swear at, the price of them. You know, good side cutters, yeah, they're going to cost you 30 quid, but not 50 quid. It's just ridiculous. So anyway, I read some reviews of this particular brand and it was standing up very, very well. In fact, in a couple of reviews, it was doing better than God Hand. So I thought, okay, it's cheaper than God Hand, supposedly as good or possibly even better than God Hand. I've never had a set of God Hands, I just won't pay that price. So I'm interested to see how they stand up against the display ones that I've been using now for 4 or 5 years since they first came out, pretty much. Probably change my main nippers every 2 years because what I have is I keep my old pair for cutting through big thick bits of sprue and stuff like that, so that my good pair is only being used on sprue gates, and that just makes them last that little bit longer. But I won't be the ones that I've been using as my principal ones, I won't be using those for old sprue because they're just not as good. So I'll use them for little tasks like cutting small wires and things like that until I decide to chuck them. But I'm cutting through plastic with them and it's needing 2 goes. So it's time to ditch them and get a new pair. So I've got those on the way. I've also ordered some a different brand of wood fillet, and we'll do a little review of that when we're using it on the Sherbourn. Yeah, some little bits and pieces that have been ordered. But I'm trying to be good because I know I've got a day of shopping at Telford, so I'm trying not to spend money and build up the revenue that we're making in the channel. But you know that there is a need to keep a flow of kits in. So I have another one that I thought would be delivered, so we'll talk about that next week. That's a classic kit that's been on my to get list for a while, and ironically we were talking about it in the chat last Friday. It came up, we were talking about it, and I had just put a bid on it an hour before the video started. So I didn't mention anything in case everyone rushed off and went and bid on it. But I got it at about 1/3 of what it usually goes for on eBay. So I was pretty chuffed. So what's happening in modelling news? Well, all sorts of things, but let's start with Amazon Prime Day, which is, let me just think, 8th of October. So 8th of October, Gallery, the airbrush people, they have some offers on 3 airbrushes just for that day. So the first one is their GHAD 68, which is not dissimilar to this. It's a trigger airbrush. This is a nice brush, but it's a slightly different variant of this. So they've got that running at £45.99. So that's 32% off. Just get one, I reckon, at that price. And then also the Mobius 2, which we recently reviewed. That's this bad boy here. It's a lovely brush. That has 20% off, so down from £82.99 to £66.99. So again, why would you not? And then finally, the GHAD 39, which is like their entry-level brush, which is sort of this, although I've modified mine, so there's only really the body that's the same. Everything else I've changed around on it. I've got all sorts of different bits on it. But that's got 34% off as well, and we'll be down to £29.99 for a really, really nice airbrush. So fill your boots. So just as a reminder, 8th of October, one day only. Just do it. So in other news, a couple of interesting kits coming out during October from ICM. The American Field Kitchen Truck. That's quite interesting. They've got you the options of having some of the bits open so you can actually set up the kitchen and stuff like that. So that looks like a very nice vehicle. I like things that are a little bit different. So yeah, kitchen truck, yeah. We're starting to see more of these type of vehicles coming out. You know, commanders trucks and that sort of stuff, which have some variations to the main themes that we're all used to, and I really like that. So yeah, that looks interesting. I'm not sure that I'll buy into it myself, but an interesting kit release. And then they've also got an American Hollywood car from, I think, the 1930s, sort of thing you would expect one of these gangs to be running moonshine in, maybe. Model A, I don't know how you pronounce that, Phaeton? Don't know. It's a re-release with some changed parts, but you get a full engine and the spoked wheels look particularly nice. If they've managed to pull that off in plastic, I'll be impressed. Revell, well, they've got some more releases coming out. They've got a Trabant, which looks interesting. 60th anniversary of the Trabant, and if you get this special edition kit, you get a book in it. The kit itself looks okay, but again, you know, it's not really up to modern standards. The doors are moulded shut. The gap lines are oversized, and you know, it looks like it'll be all right, but it's nothing to write home about. And the same, they've got a 50th anniversary of the Golf coming along, and they're releasing the Cabriolet version. And you know, they were on YouTube talking about it, and it looks very detailed in some ways, and they've put some, you know, decals in so you get the interior tartan and all that sort of stuff. But then you look at the model that's been built by a model builder for them to exhibit the model, and the parts that haven't fitted well and they haven't been able to sort out, and it just didn't look good. And you know, some parts that are moulded together that really, if they'd separated them, they'd look a lot crisper, and just the usual Revell nonsense. But I suspect the Cabriolet is a re-release of this kit, which was out, I think last time you could get that was about a year ago. So I don't think it's a new tool. But what does look nice, and I'm sure there's probably inaccuracies in it, is they're releasing the U-boat. It's a platinum edition, which means it comes with the Pontos stuff. The ship itself is 1 metre long, thereabouts. So it's a nice little boat to build. And 172 scale, it's a decent size. And it's already selling out. It's on pre-order, it's already selling out. So if you want one, find someone who's got pre-orders and get your pre-order in quickly. It's not for me because I've got a 172 U-boat platinum edition to do, although it's a different version to this. But yeah, looks like it'll probably be a nice kit. If you don't want to worry too much about accuracy because there's bound to be something wrong with it, just go in there and build it and have fun. I think it'll look great. Right, what is happening next week? What have you decided is going to be happening next week, more to the point? Well, actually, tomorrow we have an extra video out that you guys haven't chosen, but I've waited for a special occasion to share it. So tomorrow will be a first impressions of my most expensive model in the stash, most detailed model in my stash, most complicated model in my stash, and possibly the largest model in my stash. I might have one that's longer, but if it is, not by much. It's an absolute work of art, this kit. And when you see it tomorrow, I'm not going to tell you what it is. When you see it tomorrow, regardless of whether you think you're interested or not, you just need to watch it anyway, just to see what actually can be done. It is literally a work of art, and I can't wait to build it, but I'm not quite ready for it yet for a number of reasons, and we'll talk about that on the next table talk. But yeah, it's absolutely breathtaking. It'll be out 8 AM UK time tomorrow. Don't miss it. It is very, very special. So that starts off our week. Then on the Monday, we've got wooden model shipbuilding for absolute beginners, part 2. And I'm not exactly sure what's going to be in that video because I ain't edited it all together yet. But we'll definitely be building up the frame. So I don't know whether it's just going to focus on that or not at this stage. Depends on how long it is. It's the Monday slot, so I don't really want it to be an hour. So if you think about the Endeavour videos, they vary in length depending on the stage, and that might be how the Sherbourn ones go. But yeah, basically you've got the second part of the Sherbourn build on Monday. Then on Wednesday, we've got the Graf Zeppelin German aircraft carrier first impressions, the trumpeter kit in 1 to 350 scale. I know it's been out for a while. I was surprised when I did my back history just to refresh my mind. I was surprised how old that kit is now, because I remember when it first came out I thought I've got to have it, and I've been waiting till I could get it at a decent price, and I got one at a decent price, but unfortunately I think they'd stored it in damp conditions, and whilst the box is okay, I'm reckoning that the instructions and decals were damaged. It smells a bit musty, you know, that when it's got a little bit damp and then it's dried, that smell in the box. And there was no decals, and the instructions had clearly been printed off from Scalemates. So I rather suspect that's what's happened. But subsequently, I got it at 40 quid cheaper than you'd normally get it, and the plastic's all good. So and still sealed in its bags and everything. So yeah, all good. So we go through that on Wednesday, and then on Friday, all being well, we should have another Sharnhorst video. If I don't think I've got enough material, then we will have the bolt and pull Defiant build in 172 kick-off. But I think we're going to have enough Sharnhorst, and then we might do that at a later date, the bolt and pull Defiant. That needs extra editing, so we'll have to see next week when I'm editing those videos together which one that is. But that's what you've voted for. You've voted for the bolt and pull Defiant if we've not got enough material for Sharnhorst. And then on the Sunday, and I know I should talk about this next week, but on the Sunday, just so you're aware, I'm not sure about times yet, but probably 9 PM for an hour or so. We're going to have a live stream. I've not done a live stream for a little while. And on that live stream, we're going to pick the next 2 group builds. Well, when I say we're going to pick the next 2 group builds, we're going to talk about the next 2 group builds. You're going to pick one of them. I've already decided what one of them is going to be. I've got one that's going to run all of next year, all of next calendar year. So we will launch it on the 1st of January, and it'll complete probably mid-December to give me time to get the stuff out. So you'll have 11 months or 11 and a half months or something like to do it. So we'll talk about that on there, but also I'm going to be asking you for another group build, and we'll agree it there and then. So if you're interested in influencing what we do as a model kit stuff family group build, you need to be on there, because once that live stream finishes, we'll have decided. We'll be walking away one way or another with a decision on what we're doing. And if we haven't decided, then what we'll do is I'll put 2 or 3 ideas that were popular in a hat and get my daughters to pick one out of the hat, and we'll see what happens. But I'd like to walk away with you guys going, yeah, let's do that. So that there will end the 10K takeover, and we'll go back to normal running, which means we'll see Endeavour pop back, and we'll start alternating the builds a little bit with the tempo and so on. So one way or another, we've got a lot coming up this week. Again, it's very ship focused, but that's what you guys wanted. So I hope you're enjoying it. 10,000 subscribers, it's just amazing, and we're going to celebrate that all through next week as well. So in other news, Verify got back to me. They were happy with the review of the kit that I did. They've asked me if I'm going to build it, and the answer is I don't know, but certainly not in the short term. I've got build commitments already with you guys, and I don't want to change any of that particularly. So we're carrying on with the Sharnhorst. I don't want to stop that because there'll be lots of disappointment if I do. So they'll have to wait and see. But it looks like I've got a nice little relationship with Verifier now. Been having a little chat with them, so hopefully I'll get to review more of their products, which will be great for all of us. And also Vanguard Models shared with me that he should have new stock of his 3D printed ships boats in 2 weeks or so. So as soon as he gets those in, I intend to get hold of some for review. So they're aimed at people who really don't want to build the little ship's boats that go on the bigger model ship, because they are a little bit, you know, it's tiny work and it's not for everyone, though I quite enjoy doing them myself personally. So yeah, nice little detailed models in their own right. But be interesting to see what the 3D printed ones. He also shared with me his next project and shared some CADs with me, and I'm sworn to secrecy, so I can't say. But what I can say is, whoa, that's going to be nice. And I'll be getting one, definitely. So watch this space for more news from Vanguard Models. I will try and keep you up to date with latest developments. A few little bits and pieces to talk about here, not least the channel and where it's going. So the surveys we did for the 10K takeover gave me a little bit of food for thought, because there was so much positivity around shipbuilding, and particularly wooden shipbuilding. And I know that I've got subscribers that are interested in that. There's a number of channels out there that do wooden ships. Some do them very well, some dip in and out of it, and others never finish anything. So I understand that there is a little gap in the market there. So I want to sort of fill that better than I have been. We started doing the Endeavour because some of you asked me to do it when I raised the question, and one of those people was Wendy Hickson, who, if you remember, donated or gifted the 1/48 scale Space 1999 Eagle to the channel, which we'll be building soon. And my understanding is she's probably passed away. So you know, I don't like not finishing my builds, because I think it's a little bit frustrating for you guys, especially if you're really interested in it and it doesn't get finished. That's got to be really frustrating, and if I repeatedly did that, you'd get fed up. So I do want to finish it, but I also want to finish it for Wendy, and when we complete it, we'll probably dedicate the last episode to her, or something like that. So that's sort of where I am with the Endeavour. We've got to finish that, and then when that's finished, we will pick up with the Sherbourn. So what my plan is every Saturday I focus on something wood. So right now it's going to be an Endeavour and Sherbourn, and when Endeavour's finished, it will be Sherbourn and the Fly. So yeah, I know some of you have been holding on a very long time for Fly. You know, December was the last episode, and there'd been several months before the December one as well. So you've been holding on a long time for Fly. And the second planking still isn't finished on it, because I haven't done anything with her whilst I've been doing an Endeavour. So, and I had one or two things to finish off, Queen Mary 2 and so on. So I feel like ships is always a big focus of this channel, because I enjoy ship modelling more than any other type of modelling. And we sort of had a distraction with the Queen Mary 2, because actually a lot of people weren't as interested in it as they quite frankly should have been, to be honest. But, you know, I get that. There's people that like their military stuff, and there's people that like the wooden stuff. And right now we've got the military stuff covered and the wooden stuff less so. The Endeavour is not everyone's cup of tea, yachts and stuff. People like the big blingy warships and that sort of stuff, and I get that, but you have to walk before you can run. So my intention with wooden ship modelling is to do the Sherbourn. Then we're going to do another novice one. I'm thinking one of the fishing smacks or something like that, again from Vanguard Models. Haven't decided which one yet, but I will get one while they're in stock. That's a very different experience because you're varnishing the wood, you're not painting it. It looks very different. You've got sails to do and so on. So something like that. And then we'll notch up to the next level, from novice to beginner, which will be a little bit more complicated, and we'll keep notching it up until we get to complete expert builds. In the meantime, we'll carry on with the fly, so we'll do 1 week on a bit of fly and 1 week on a bit of that, so you'll have 2 wooden model ship builds which are being dripped out to you every other week, but always something a little bit wood. I've got some tools and things around wooden ship modelling which have been on my list to do reviews of for ages, and I don't get around to them, so I'm going to put a bit of emphasis into some more tools and products that are focused for wooden ship modelling. Again, they'll be on the Monday or the Wednesday slot. So I'm changing things around a little bit because I want to get the wooden model stuff out, and that's going to be on a Monday, rather than putting an extra video out, which puts me under more pressure, and I don't need the stress, to be quite honest. We might drop a first impressions once a month and put a tool review in or something like that. So we'll change things up a little bit while keeping the variety and keeping it going. Now, I've very kindly had more kits offered to me for review, which I'm going to accept. I keep meaning to send the email, but I will do. A couple of very nice 135 scale kits, so I'm interested to review those. And then, so we'll have a variety of first impressions coming up. So that's sort of what I'm doing. So I'm not shifting the channel onto wooden model ship building as a principle or anything, but we are going to do a little bit more of it than we have been doing, or at least it'll feel like we're doing more once the Endeavour's out of the way, which is sort of hybrid, as you know. And then when Sharnhorst finishes, there will be another ship build, but we'll have to see where we are with me non-principal build, just to see what that looks like. And there's part of me wants to do a tall ship in plastic next, but if I'm doing a couple of tall ships in wood, I perhaps want to go and do a 1350. Quite fancy doing a 1350 straight out of the box, no aftermarket, as it comes, and see how we get on. So make the Condorcet maybe, or we could possibly do I don't know. I think I've not got many ship kits that don't have aftermarket, but I've got Dreadnought, I think, without any aftermarket. So yeah, there's one or two options there we could do, and of course Agamemnon's coming along soon, so not Agamemnon, Argonaut I should say, so that could be one that we do straight from the box and is relatively new. So I just don't know, and you might have to help me make that decision come the time, and it'll depend on what I feel like and where we are with other builds. So Space 1999 Eagle is the next build we're due to do after the Tempo. I've got to say, I'm not feeling it right now, and that worries me. I need to get into the mood for that. So I'm either going to have to put a load of Space 1999 on and get in the mood for it, or I'm going to have to do a little palette cleanser in between pick a little aircraft or something to knock out to get me ready for that monster of a build. Although, to be honest, it's a number of sub-assemblies, quite a bit of repetitive work and some clean-up, and then you spray it all white, and then you're down to decals, which I quite enjoy doing. So I don't think it's going to be overly labour-intensive, but it will, if I do a little palette cleanser, that'll just help with the built models count this year. Anyway, that's sort of what I'm thinking with the channel. So if you like your wooden ship kits, you should see more stuff of interest coming out about that in the fullness of time. Yeah, so which would be good because I enjoy doing it, and I know some of you would like to get into that. One or two of you have already said to me, never built one, really want to, and they're really interested in this beginner's build. So I am doing it as best I can as an absolute beginner's build, but it can be a challenge to think in a beginner's mode, and show you, there's loads of different techniques for every different way thing that you do, so showing you different techniques as well. Then you can pick which one works for you. Right, so that's sort of where the channel's heading. I don't think there's anything in other news. Someone was asking me a few weeks ago how I'm getting on with my bread making. Well, not very well. This is my starter, and this was fed yesterday after coming out of the fridge, ready to make another batch of bread. So I start the process on a Friday night. It carries on through a Saturday. I should have a loaf of bread on a Saturday, but I'm not getting it to rise. There's something wrong with my starter, so I'm trying to sort my starter. I actually, after several goes of trying it myself, I actually bought a starter, and that's been a bit lackluster as well. So I'm not quite sure what's going on. But yeah, this, I'm going to leave it for another 24 hours. Then I'm going to get rid of half of it and feed it again and see what we can do. But it's not happy. Should be big bubbles in it, and you've got little bubbles in it at best. So it's not really very alive. And the one I bought wasn't either. So yeah, I was unimpressed with that. 12 quid for a starter that didn't really start. So the other thing I thought we'd talk about in other stuff was my stash. So when I started the channel 4 years ago, I had a little spreadsheet, wasn't very organised, and the spreadsheet told me that I had 408, I think it was, model kits in my stash. Which some people in the house thought was too many. And then when we started the channel and we started working through them, I realised that I had duplications, kits I was no longer interested in, kits that I'd bought at the time, but better versions have come out now, sort of thing. And so I had quite a bit of stuff in there that one way or another I probably was never going to build. And there's no point in keeping the stuff that you're never going to build. And I'm of the opinion that model kits do not go up in value as a general rule. There are one or two that do. So, if you want a model of the Lusitania, you're going to have to shell out a fair amount of money. But if you think about the Matchbox 172 Flower Class Corvette, I paid what seemed like a lot of money for it, but when you look at what that money was back in the 80s when I originally bought it, it equates to what I paid for the model when it first came out. So actually what happens with models is the value of them goes up with inflation, rather than they become more valuable. It's a different thing. Wingnut Wings kits, they're another potential exception to the rule. I think everyone largely expects to pay more than they would have done for that kit now. But, they are genuinely the exceptions, and you can get some bargains. So there's no point storing them hoping that you're going to make a load of money on them one day. If you want to make a load of money on something, invest in Lego. Lego goes up exponentially, and you can sell it for silly money. If you keep it in the original box and what have you, you can sell it for silly money. You can double, triple your money easily. Model kits, just not the case. And part of the problem is they're generally mass produced. And if they're not mass produced in the cottage industry, they generally don't have the interest in the following that a mass produced one has. So you're a bit catch-22. So I took the decision that I needed to thin out my stash. And I'm at the back end of that now. So a couple of weeks ago, I showed you all the remaining kits that I intend to get rid of. And I sold 3 of them. 2 of them have been shipped and hopefully are with their new owners. And at the time that I'm recording this, the other one I'm just waiting payment for, and then that'll go. The rest of them are going to go on eBay, and that will be the end of my clearing stash. And what's interesting in that time is I have been buying more model kits, but not replacing them like for like. So I've gone down from 408 back in November of 2020 to now I have a total stash of 166. Is that still too many? I don't know. But I thought you'd be interested in the breakdown of my stash because I have it on a spreadsheet. You can see it here. And what I do, I'm going to take a photograph so I can show it on my screen better. So what I do is I break them down by subject. So I know how many plastic ships I've got, how many wooden ships I've got, how many aircraft, how many vehicle, and how many don't fit into that category, i.e. others. So sci-fi, that sort of thing, figures, you know. And then I add them all up. And on some of them, so aircraft and ships, plastic ships, I'll have little subcategories underneath them. So I know for each model what it is, what the brand is, what the scale is. And then I'll list if I've got any etch for it or resin or whatever, wood decks or whatever, which means that I know where my gaps are when I want to do a little bit of shopping and I'm in the mood for buying some stuff. I know what I need to be buying for and what to look out for. And yeah, it just gives me a bit of a view. So 166 kits currently. That doesn't include the new Bedford truck, which I need to put on and I'll do in a sec. But here's some interesting stats for you. I have 52 plastic ship kits currently. So I have 4 that are 1/600 scale. I have 1 that is 1/400 scale. I have 32 that are 350 scale. And I have 4 that are 200 scale. That includes the Sharnhorst. And larger than 1/200 scale, I've got 12. So you're thinking larger than 1/200 scale, they tend to be tall ships, you know. So I've got 172. But I've also got the German S-boat in 1 to 35 and so on. So yeah, 22 of those ships are British. 9 of them are Japanese, 11 of them are German, just 3 of them are US, and 5 of them from other countries. So I've got Italy and France and what have you. So I'm a bit deficient on US ships, really. So that might be my focus if I buy any more, maybe. But it's just come out of my interest is primarily the Atlantic War, so rather than the Pacific. So that's where I am with plastic ships. Wooden ships, I've currently got 14. I have got rid of some. So some of the lower quality ones, which I just don't want to be bothered with. If I'm going to build a model ship, I want it to be nice. So yeah, so I've still got some quite a variety of brands there, and one of them I bought that had been started, and I don't usually do that. They'd made a bit of a mess of it, but I think it's very salvageable and got it half price. So yeah. Then other kits, I've got 14, and that's got a whole variety of things in there, from the old Airfix Jungle Outpost to Star Wars kits, to Ockery trams and the War of the Worlds Pegasus stuff. Aircraft kits, I've got 55. I have culled aircraft kits quite heavily. I don't have any individual stats on that, but I do have quite a few 172 kits that I'd like to get stuck into at some point. And then I have 45 vehicle kits, and that really astonished me, because if you'd asked me how many vehicle kits, I'd have said, oh, about 15 maybe. So I was astonished at 45, but I have been sort of buying them over the last couple of years. So yeah. Yeah, all sorts. But in there, you've got also things like the big Carl Garrett Morser in there, so that big railway vehicle and what have you. But yeah, that's what my stash looks like at the moment. Is that too big? Can I build that before I lose my sight and the use of my fingers? I don't know. What's your view? How big should a stash be? I don't know. It's difficult. All of these kits I bought because I wanted to build them, and and I didn't want to lose the opportunity to have them. And that's what a stash is all about. And when I've finished a project, I've got choice. I can go to my stash and go, right, what do I fancy building? The problem is sometimes you look at them all and go, I don't fancy any of those, and you go and buy another one. And of course my problem is I buy them for first impressions as well, or at least that's my excuse for buying them. So yeah, is 166 a silly number for a stash? Should I thin it out more? I'm not sure that I could, because I really want to build all of them. There you go. Right then, special people and shout outs. So, if you'd like to support the channel, keep the cameras running, keep the content coming, then you can do that through donating into my PayPal. It's the best way to give the maximum support to the channel, because the channel gets 100% of whatever you want to donate. And it doesn't matter if it's £1, you know, every little bit really does help the channel. The channel doesn't earn that much. Let me show you this. Sorry about the quality of the picture, it's a screenshot. But what you can see there is a video that's 2 days old. So this was the Sherbourn part 1. And you can see it's had 890 views. So that's at the top end of my normal viewing. If you look at the little grey arc there, you can see the blue line. The blue line represents what's actually happened, and the grey area is the normal operating parameters of my videos on average. And so what you're actually seeing there is that my video has behaved typically in the number of views, although it's at the higher end of typical. So it tells you how many hours have been watched so far, and it tells you how many subscribers. So 23 new subscribers after 2 days because of that video. And then at the end there, you'll see how much I've earned from that video, from the adverts. 24p. Right, there is 3 channels that made this channel happen. And I'd like to give 2 of them a shout out. The third one, absolutely not. And I couldn't even tell you what it was called now anyway. But I'd started watching YouTube, and you start watching YouTube by putting a search in, and I'd search for model ship. And one of the first things that comes up is a channel called The Model Ship, which of course is Ron Calvary. And I started watching that. He just started building his 1200 Bismarck at that point. And I've watched every episode since. I've never missed them. Sometimes when I go on holiday, I miss a few, but I go back and I catch them all up. And I went right back to the start and caught them all up. And I think by the time I caught up, he was on episode 100 and something of it. So I caught it all up. And I used to comment a lot on the channel. I comment less on his channel now because he's building a U-boat, which I know less about, partly. And partly I'm just that busy that I'm not sat there watching it, doing it, nothing else. I've usually got it on while I'm at work or doing something else. And so it will go on to the next video and then I've not really made a comment. So I am going to try and comment a bit more. But yeah, what I liked about Ron's channel was the way it was just open and honest and, you know, the problem solving and all that sort of stuff. And he was starting a journey then. He's much more experienced now than he was then. And it was interesting to be part of that journey. And I used to comment and say, well, have you thought about trying this and trying that? And there's, you know, there is a model ship of Rodney in 1/200 scale in Canada that has a little red blob on the bridge to represent the coat of arms because I said you should put that there. So I've influenced that model that's in Canada. Who knows what will happen to him in the future. But yeah, I still like the channel. It's not quite the same as it was back then. There's more other stuff in it. So it's more about what he gets up to in the day. But it's still got its structure and its routine. And there is still a bit of modelling in it every day. So I like to listen to it. So if you've never caught the model ship, it's worth going and having a look. And if you've come back to modelling and fancy doing a large ship, go and have a look at those builds. So he's done the Bismarck, the Hood, the Rodney, is it the Missouri as well? So 4, and he's doing a big 1/48 scale U-boat right now. So that's the first one. So I was watching that, and at the same time I started watching another channel, which we'll talk about in a moment. And then I came across a channel and a guy building a plastic model ship. And he clearly didn't know what he was doing, but he was trying to come across like he did. And he put a laminate wooden deck on, and a few days after he put it on, it was all bobbling up in places. So he said, oh yeah, we don't worry about that. And he squeezed some CA glue in and sandwiched it down. And he goes, we'll just glue it down. And I thought, well, either that's going to break and it'll pop back up, or it'll force another part of your deck to pop up because you've not fitted your deck properly. And, you know, if you were new to modelling and you were watching that, you go, oh, right, you put them on, and if they pop up, you just glue them back down, and that's wrong. If they pop up, you've wrecked it, take your deck off and do it again. And I was really annoyed that, because at this time, a lot of people were returning back to the hobby with the pandemic. And there was lots of people starting out in the hobby who were looking for something to do. And this guy's giving advice and talking like he's an expert, and he clearly didn't know what he was doing. And that really annoyed me. So there was a combination of, I want to show people that's not the right way. And then Ron's channel, which was really relaxed and natural and going, you know, we'll try this and let's see him work it out. And I thought, if I'm going to do a channel, I want it to be like Ron's. I want it to just be natural and normal. And then the other channel I was watching was Nigel's Modelling Bench. And I liked the way that he was very focused when he was doing a build on, this is how I do it, this is what works, this is why I do it. If you do this, this will happen, so don't do that, do this. I like that level of detail. And I think a lot of us like that about Nigel's channel. And so I wanted to do something like Nigel's channel, but more in a Ron way of doing it. And it took me a little bit of time to do it. But my channel is what it is because of those 3 channels, the model ship and Nigel's Modelling Bench being the positive examples that have created what we've got here, along with your input as well. So yeah, a special thanks to Ron and to Nigel. And Nigel's contributed in so many ways over the years because, you know, he's asked people to go and check my channel out, which has helped with subscribers on more than one occasion. And Ron mentions my channel fairly regularly. When I was doing the airbrushing tutorials, he mentioned them several times, and he mentioned me again last week. So a massive thank you, guys. My channel is in no small part what it is because of you. I continue to watch and enjoy your channels, and you know, I might not comment all the time. Doesn't mean I'm not watching, so be careful what you say about me. But there you go. That is shout-outs done for this week. And I think that brings us to the end. We've got another week of the 10K takeover to go. Hope you're enjoying it. Continue to enjoy it. Have a fabulous week. And whatever you do, enjoy your modelling. Bye for now. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't done so. It's free, and that way you won't miss my first impressions, my tool reviews, my product reviews, and any of my builds, including wooden model kits as well as plastic. It's all free, and if you'd like to support the channel, you can hit my PayPal link in the text below. Every pound goes straight into the channel to keep the cameras rolling and to do more fun stuff for you to watch.